Hey everybody, Greg here, and you're watching Two Old Guys with Crossbows. Today, I'm going to show my method for picking out some slugs for my air rifle. I've been using pellets mainly, but I'm finding on the longer shots out past 50 yards, the pellet is drifting quite a bit. It's losing impact pressure, and I hear slugs are better. But how do you choose a slug that's going to fit the barrel of your gun without wasting a whole bunch of money buying a whole pile of slugs? Because the slugs are not cheap. So this is what I'm going to try, and this could end up being a little series, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to show you the technique I'm using because I know the pellets that shoot well for my gun and how I'm going to pick the size of slug that I hope will group very well for my gun at 50-60 yards. I'm using the ATN Buck Hunter daytime scope on my air rifle, and the nice thing about the ATN scope is it has different zero settings for different ammunition that you use. So my pellets I have sighted in already, and I can save that sighting in the memory of the scope. And when I set up for the slugs, I can also save my slug setting and just name it slugs, pellets, or whichever. Also, I can, if I buy slugs in different grain weights, I can sight each grain weight in with the slugs that work the best, and the same with pellets. ATN scopes, in my opinion, for the money, are great scopes and work very well, and they have all the options that I could think of that I want in a scope, in a digital recording scope. It also has the one-shot zero, which makes it very easy to sight in because you take a shot and then basically you hit the one-shot zero and it brings up two crosshairs. So you keep one on the crosshair on the bullseye where you're shooting, and you drop the other crosshair to where your first shot hit, and then you hit zero, and it actually re-zeros the scope for you. I wish I could show you all this in the scope. I just haven't figured out a way to do it. I would need a side mount camera or whatever to hook onto the scope, and I don't have one of those. But I cannot record when I'm setting up the zero and stuff. You can go to ATN site, and they do have videos on the one-shot zero and such. They're great. For a budget digital scope, you can't beat the price. Check them out. I'm not paid by ATN or anything. This is not a paid promotion. This is just my personal opinion. And I searched around for a digital scope for a long time. But in Saskatchewan, where I live, I am not allowed to have any night vision or thermal imaging mounted on any of my hunting rifles or crossbows. So this was the first scope and the only scope that I found that did not have thermal or night vision. It's called the Buck Hunter Daytime Scope by ATN Digital Scopes. They have a variety of scopes there, and mine is an older one. It's about 3 years old, but it still works great, and I love it. So let's get to the video. The first thing I want to do is have a look at some of the slugs I found online. These are the NSA or the Nielsen ammunition slugs, and these are 17.5 grain. You get a 400 count for $29.99, and that's Canadian dollars. This is a Canadian site. But the diameter of these slugs is 0.2165 of an inch. So 0.22 is a 22, 0.2165 is the diameter. And as we go through this, you'll see that there are different diameters. In this next image, you'll see that these are 23 grain NSA slug, but the diameter of these is 0.217. Now, we're talking of thousandths of an inch, but it does seem to make a difference, and we'll get into that later in the video, because it's finding the right ammunition that your gun shoots well. It's the same with a centerfire rifle or a 22. Different ammunition will shoot differently, and I do believe it has to do with diameter size in these air guns a lot, because it depends how much pressure it's losing when it fires the slug or the pellet downrange. This last image, I believe, is H&N slugs that I found, but I clipped the product details. This is a hollow point nose with a dish base slug. Number in the box is 375. Length of the slug is 0.260, and the diameter available in this slug is 0.217 or 0.218. So, as you can see, they come in different sizes and different diameters, different grain weights. I believe the grain weight of these pellets was 20.3 grains, and of course, like pellets or anything else, you can spend a lot of money buying these at 20 cents a slug, basically, and finding out that a few hundred of them that you purchased are no good for your gun because they don't group well. And I want to hit what I'm aiming at, so I want as tight a group as possible. So let's get on to the next steps that I figured I should do to find a good fitting slug for the barrel of my gun. Well, the first thing I decided to do was maybe check my bore size. But depending on the caliber you have, watch how far you stick your points in, because with mine it gets a little wider at the back and you can't get a true reading. You have to draw it out so just the tips are in the barrel. See, I'm shoving it in deeper here, and you see it changes what we're looking at. But from this I got an idea that my barrel diameter on the inside is approximately 0.219. So I'm looking for a slug approximately that size. Now this is the pellets that my gun seems to shoot consistently. I get good groups. At 35 yards I can basically touch 5 pellets. Here we're seeing that they are 5.5 millimeter according to the manufacturer. So let's go work from there. Now in the can it says that they're 14.3 grain, but nowhere is it giving me the diameter in inches like the 0.217 or the 0.2165 or anything. It just says that they're 5.5 mil. So my next step was to open the can and use my caliper to see how consistent these pellets are in diameter size. Now, being that pellets are round, you can see that my caliper has tapered points. It's how do I find the center of the round of the pellet to actually measure it. So it basically turn it upside down, hold it flat on the table, and set the pellet in jaws. this way I'm going to be on the center of the pellet, hopefully. And here we can see that that pellet is 5.58 mils. And the can said 5.5. Here it's 5.55. And it's pretty much in the center. So here I have switched over to inches, and we can see that this pellet is reading 0.22, but as you can see, the head of the pellet is actually a bit smaller than the skirt. So I thought, why try to measure them this way when I just can measure the skirts? There, now I'm pressing in on it a bit, and you're seeing 2.15. So what I did is I actually measured 5 pellets that way on the side, and then I decided to measure 5 pellets just by holding it flat and measuring the bottom skirt. As you can see, 2.19. Not all of the pellets are the same. I was writing these numbers down as I did this too. 2.17. Two point 2.175, 2.18, 2.175. I may have wrote down 218. Oh, for that one. But what this did was give me an average as I wrote these numbers down, the 5 of them, and then I add them all together and divide them by 5 and come up with an average the size of these pellets that shoot well loaded with my gun. And my average was 0.2185, so that is what I'm looking for, as closest to when I'm buying slugs for this gun. So there you have it. That's the process I'm doing to try and save some money, so hopefully I won't have to buy a whole bunch of slugs to find one that shoots well for my gun. The diameter size is important because you want the slug to be in contact with the rifling in your barrel so you get that spin. And I know those pellets contact my rifling and they group very well. So I'm going from the average size of those, so when I purchase my slugs, as you've seen in the beginning of the video, they come in various diameters like 0.216, 0.217, 0.2175, 0.218. So I will probably be looking at, the biggest ones I've seen is 0.218, so I will probably be looking at getting slugs that are 0.218 in diameter for the barrel of my gun. And hopefully they will group very nice at 50, 60 yards. They'll have the extra weight, the grain weight. Slugs come in a variety of weights, right up to 27 grains. And that will definitely make it a slower flying projectile, but will have more of an impact at longer ranges and also cut through the wind better. So this is my theory, and this is what I'm doing. I hope this has helped you out. And again, once I get some slugs, I will be going out doing some test shooting, but that's not going to be for a while because we just got hit with a whole pile of snow in Saskatchewan, and about 3 feet. So it looks like winter's here. I may not be able to get out till spring to be out target shooting with the gun. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. And if you have, please give it a like, give it a share. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We love your support. It's your support that will make our channel grow. But anyways, till next time, Greg saying goodbye from two old guys with crossbows.